crony capitalism fuels the homeless
In this
crisis.
video, family, we'll expose why crony capitalism is sinking this American ship, and we will give you the solutions of how we can turn this thing around. Allow us to dive in.
America is facing a storm of interconnected crises that threaten the very foundation of its middle class. Record homelessness and soaring rents are colliding with an economy that feels increasingly unmanageable for millions of Americans. The evidence is stark. Over 2.3 million people are now unhoused, marking a 21% increase in just 1 year. Meanwhile, more than 8 million Americans are behind on rent, with 2.3 million facing rent hikes of over $500. This is not just a housing problem. It is an economic and societal emergency that
This is indeed a travesty in a nation that promotes itself as being the greatest nation on earth. No nation on earth that has this amount of homelessness. 2.3 million individuals who are unhoused, up 21% in just 1 year. No nation on this earth can tout itself as being a great nation with that amount of human suffering, not to mention the enormous amount of Americans who are addicted to drugs that are ruining their lives, and the mental and emotional health epidemic that is exploding at the seams. But there is solutions to these problems. One of the biggest things that you and I must come to understand is this: that neither the liberals or the conservatives have done a great job in addressing these major issues. And the crony capitalism that we mentioned earlier is one of the reasons why individuals are suffering to the degree that they are, and that an inequality exists to this level. Now, allow us to dive into what administrations collectively, the Democrats and or the Republicans, who are giving the middle class and the lower income individuals a opportunity to advance their levels in society. And we're doing this from a non-biased perspective, because I don't deal with the Democrats on many issues because of how they go about trying to push unnatural things. And I don't deal with the Republicans on many issues because of how they try to hide behind the cloak of Christianity to hide their soft racism, many of them, and many of them are black, and they are racist against themselves to a degree. And again, for the record, I voted for Trump, and I'm all right with some of the things that he's done. I am against those things that he is not doing and fails to do, and his compromised position with Israel and the Epstein files, as well as trying to minimize the vile, vulgar, and disgusting behavior of the founding fathers when it came to slavery. Two things can be true. The founders were great for white individuals, and they established a foundation for a nation that became very prosperous. This is true. And I am America first, in spite of the history and the brutality that was legalized under the founding fathers. And many of these individuals who are on the conservative right, black and white, would like to deny the evil of slavery, the evil of white supremacy when it comes to the philosophy and the ideology and the policies of early America and even of later America. So again, we must deal with those issues straight forth and straight ahead, not based off emotional responses. Let's deal with the truth and don't hide the truth. And this is how we come full circle. Now, allow us to dive into these numbers and allow you to see what it is and who actually did or was doing some things that allowed them to succeed when it comes to the collective of both the Democrat and the Republican parties when it comes to the economic health of the nation, and particularly of the middle and lower income. Allow me to reduce myself on the stream. We'll bring this up in the back, and hopefully you can see this well. What we're looking at right here, family, is I typed into Grunk because I wanted to know over the past 12 administrations, Republican, Democrat, collectively, who performed the best when it came to raising the standards of living of the low and the middle class. And it came back in real time that the real medium household income growth represents the middle class progress since Carter. Annual growth average plus 6% under the Democrats and a negative 0.2% under Republicans. And this goes to the issue that is at hand. A lot of this that we are dealing with is from the crony capitalism that is allowed to exist, meaning I have no issue with an individual being filthy rich. I do have an issue with that individual using his money to coerce and to buy off politicians to put things in their favor in order so that they continue to become wealthy and those that are beneath them become poor using tax. They have this philosophy that is so true, and Noam Chomsky spoke about this many times. Again, I don't agree with a lot of things that Noam talked about, but I do agree with some things. Just as I agree with some things on the right, I agree with some things of these individuals on the left when they're dealing in truth. So Noam Chomsky talks about, and this is practiced widely in America, talked about how the individuals in many instances with money, these corporations and these companies and these businesses, they socialize costs and privatize the profit. What does that mean? That means that taxpayers' dollars in many instances are paying for these super wealthy individuals to establish businesses in these cities, states, etc. And the taxpayer dollars are funding the foundation of this. However, the taxpayers get none of the profit from that business that relied on taxpayers' money in order to get it up and running and doing the thing that it is supposed to do. But those same taxpayers do not get a drop of money from the private profit that that company will make. And oftentimes, if that company is not profitable, the taxpayers have lost out on the money that they put into it because the business failed. But the owners of that business, the corporations, when it was funded with taxpayer dollars, they have lost nothing. You cannot run a society and call it a capitalistic society with this type of practice. I am in agreement with true capitalism. However, what we're operating under is crony capitalism, and it is making many individuals suffer. We'll bring up this next lady and show you her story just to let you see how devastating this crony capitalism is and how ruthless these individuals are who participate in this garbage. Allow me to make sure she's on the screen. All right, she's up on the screen. We're going to listen to her story, then we'll get you on up out of here, guys. But we must come to understand that, again, taxation in the way that we are being taxed, those of us who are middle class and below, is actually strangling our ability to really move upward. There are a few exceptions to the rule, but at the end of the day, it's the taxes that we are being throttled with that is actually really limiting the upward growth of poor people and middle income people. We have to re-examine this tax code and see what's going on and see how we can truly help individuals who are truly working and truly trying to establish a life that is prosperous and doing the things that would bring that life about if we didn't have these implanted inequalities based off particular practices tied to crony capitalism. Allow us to listen to this lady's story and listen to the despair in her heart. And then again, we'll give you the solutions to how we can go about as a nation changing it and how you can go about it as an individual in order to give yourself the best chance to succeed in this crony capitalistic system. Allow us to dive in.
Worked my whole life, and this is what it comes down to? Some greedy person wanting his big chunk out of what little bit I had?
How much longer can you afford to live in your home?
1 month. I don't know what I'm going to do. Hope that I don't wake up tomorrow. That's crossed my mind.
One of the most important forms of affordable housing is under threat.
They're called manufactured housing communities. You might know them as mobile home parks or trailer parks, and they often get a bad rap. But 22 million Americans call them home for a reason.
We're pretty much the last oasis of affordable housing in this country.
And that is a problem. As you see that these individuals who are crony capitalists, who teeter on the pathology of sociopathy and psychopathy, that these individuals care nothing about the human being. They care solely about a profit. And America cannot be a great nation with this type of practice being at the center of its economic structure, and with the politicians holding or being held hostage and benefiting from the money that these individuals will into these politicians' pockets in order to get the laws and to get the things that they want passed that benefit them, but eventually hurt the majority of Americans. There's no way that you and I should be taxed on property that we already paid for. This is ridiculous. And there's no way that we should be taxed on many things if you send in 3-4 billion to foreign countries and upwards of 22 billion in the last year to Israel of taxpayer dollars, when you got 2.3 million who are unhoused, and you got tent cities popping up in every major city in America. When I was growing up, I didn't see or know of no homeless person, none, and I'm only 53. But to see what has happened in the last 20 years or even 10 years, probably 10 years, it has exploded in the small town that I live in. This is ridiculous. It's black, white. It is black and white are the majority of the individuals that I see. More whites than blacks, to be honest with you, that are homeless within this city. And this is distasteful. It's disgusting. We have to address this. And we do that by pushing that these individuals get money, big donor money, out of politics. Get these lobbyists out of politics. These individuals don't care about the nation. They care about the profit. And one thing that you and I can do, and I'm going to get on up out of here, is this. We must start to develop our mind, our body, in a way that we're working towards eliminating those habits that are not beneficial to us and pursuing the habits that do benefit. We cannot chase pleasure if it's tied to bad habit. We cannot avoid pain if it's tied to constructive development and growth. You and I must rethink what it is that we're doing and collectively come together with those who have similar mindsets, who are working towards similar things in order to offset some of this travesty that is going on and that will continue to go on. Because our politicians are bought, and until we force them to be held accountable, until we force them and force money out of politics to the degree that it's in politics, we'll continue to get this outcome. So again, if you like the video, like, subscribe, and comment. That gets the algorithm going. Please have a beautiful day. I look forward to hearing any of your thoughts. Sending you peace and love. Peace.